We all have to start at a certain point, so I figured I would just give you some of my backstory to let you know that, yeah, now I'm doing 150 deals a year. A lot of you here think I'm some type of mythical figure or something. Anyway, but I had to start at the very, very bottom. I knew nothing. So I started as an algebra teacher to 9th and 10th graders, and I assure you selling that is way harder than getting a house at 50 cents on the dollar, I promise you. But there was just something in my heart during that time, and it's just like, this is just not enough. I'm not impacting people. The kids that are here, they're just getting through the day. They don't want to learn the math. I just don't care for it. So I actually kind of checked out of that job. I actually got fired from it. I don't often share that, but it's just like my passion wasn't in it. I got fired. So fortunately, my folks both had a good job over that summer after I got let go. I was like, I've watched all the Property Brothers shows and the Chip and Joe shows from forever ago. I'd love to flip a house. We bought this little turd out in Pleasant Hill off of an auction site called Hubzu. Anybody remember Hubzu? I bought it for way too much. Bought it for $83,000. Shouldn't have bought it for more than $55,000, but I did all the work on this house. I painted the baseboard, I cut the tile, I did all the stuff. Well, at the end of the day, we made $19,000. I split it 50-50 with my folks because they funded the project, and I was like, that was 3 months of work. I made $9,000, whatever. It's not a whole lot of money, but maybe I can do this on my own. So I just kept grinding away. That first year, I did 3 deals, made a total of $19,000 total for me. That time I was living off of my income from my retirement from 3 years of teaching, right? So this money starts dwindling and dwindling and dwindling, and I don't have anything coming in. So I'm flipping a house in Raymore, Missouri, right? House was on Cantor Street. I was doing all of the repair requests because the house was supposed to close the next day. So I'm doing all the little plumbing repairs and all the little stuff. So we had the house under contract for $210,000. I was all in at $170 or something. We were scheduled to make $20 after all was said and done. I got a call from the appraiser. The appraiser said, dude, I got some bad news for you. The appraisal came in $20,000 less. So I go from saying, yes, I have no money, to I'm going to have $20,000 to I don't know if I'm going to be able to be an investor anymore, right? I wondered if I was going to have to go back into teaching. So I sat on the ground beside the house. I cried for hours because I did not know what to do. I was at rock bottom. I didn't know if I was going to be an investor anymore, but something within me lit up. He talked about the campfire effect. Unfortunately, I didn't have those people in my life. It was just me that had to set a flame within myself, right? So I stood up that day and I was like, I'm not going to be this guy anymore that's mediocre. I'm not going to be the guy that doesn't provide for my family. And at that point, I was behind on payments of my own home. I had no money, right? So I was a man possessed at that point. There was a neighborhood that I loved. It was called Lakewood in Lee Summit. It was my dream place. There was no way I was going to live there, but I loved driving through there. So I was just driving in my car and praying and trying to figure out how am I getting out of this? I come across this for sale by owner sign. And this house, I give them a call. The house is probably a close to $400,000 house fixed up. And they're like, well, we're asking $180 for it. I'm like, are you sure? It makes no sense. So I end up putting this house under contract. It was my first appointment ever with a direct-to-seller. I had bought stuff off the MLS at that point. So I was shivering in my boots, nervous, didn't really know how to fill out a contract at that point. My real estate agent had done it for me. So I went in there, I took action, I stumbled through it, I signed the contract. We ended up putting $40,000 or $50,000 into the house, ended up making $60,000 at the end of the day. I went from having negative dollars in my account to $60,000 in my account. And that was the moment that I knew that I could do it. And every single one of you in here, this time of inflation, this time of challenge, this time of very difficult to get a real estate deal. Some of you are probably in that spot right now. So some of you may think it's unrelatable, and it's like, oh, Michael's story got another 3 or 4 deals this week. Well, good on him, but he doesn't understand me. I do understand you. And it took years and years after that. The next time, it was years down the road. We were in the same spot. I'd sold a house. I was basically unemployed. I didn't have another deal coming in. I'm pouting on my back deck, right? I actually lived in Lakewood at that point. So I'd had some success. But I wasn't figuring it out. It was just hills and valleys and hills and valleys, and I didn't understand how to be consistent. So I'm sitting out there on my back deck pouting, basically. My wife comes out there, and she's like, what are you doing? You're not being the man that I know. So she's like, you got to figure something out. So I start scrolling on my phone. Some of you may have heard this story before. I'm scrolling on my phone. I see on Zillow this house that happened to be about a half mile away from me. It had a little red dot next to it. The red dot meant pre-foreclosure. I had no idea what a pre-foreclosure was. I mean, I understood being foreclosed on. I'd been behind on my payments, right? But I didn't understand in terms of an investor how you deal with that. So all I did, instead of getting online and reading about it and getting on forums and trying to figure out the perfect thing to say, I literally just walked to this house. It was a half mile away from me. House was on Aspen Street and Lakewood. I go up to the house. This was 2018. I knock on the door. I'm probably going 200 beats per minute in my chest. I'm terrified. I think someone's going to scream at me. They're going to spit at me. They're going to slam the door. I'm going to have to walk away with my tail between my legs. But this gentleman opens the door, and the first thing that comes out is, hey, my name's Michael. I noticed Wells Fargo was giving you grief with your loan. I happen to live in Lakewood. I just wanted to come by and see if I could help. And it's amazing how similar the script is now, after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these deals. So I think he's going to kick me out. The guy immediately pours his soul out, tells me everything that's going on. His wife has dementia. He lost all kinds of benefits and things like that. I walk into the house. They show me around. I have a 90-minute meeting with them. And then they say, well, we're going to think about it, right? So I'm like, this isn't real. It's fake. So they say they're going to reach out tomorrow. Well, the next morning came and they did. They did reach out. So I came over there and I'm like, okay, I signed this contract. I have no money for this house. I have no idea what to do. So at that point, this was one of my first wholesale deals. I assigned it to another company in the area, made $50,000, ended up helping this family relocate somewhere else. They netted a ton of money in the deal as well. And I'm like, holy cow. All I did was look at my phone. I walked. I door knocked. I talked to them. I solved a problem. And I made $50,000. And it unlocked in my mind this concept of the niche list that some of you hear me talk about all the time, to where it's like you can make money, a lot of money, while doing really well for someone else. So you would have thought I would do that immediately over and over and over. Well, I'm a thick-minded person. I don't know what I'm doing. So a handful of months later, I'm needing another deal because I'm poor again, right? As we all have felt, no matter what business we're in. I go door knock this house, but it's vacant this time. I'm like, well, last time I door knocked the house, there was someone. I don't know what to do now. So I get on the tax record. I look them up, kind of doing some research and stuff. And I see, oh, they have another record, maybe a rental or something. It happened to be directly down the street from my office. I go door knock the house. I say the same thing. Hey, my name's Michael. I saw that city mortgage was giving you grief. Just wanted to see if I could help. They tell me this crazy story of them going on vacation to Disney World. They come back, and there's people living in their house. They have no idea who they are. So these squatters come and took over their house. They didn't have the money for an attorney because they just spent it all at Disney World, right? So they can't do due process and get an attorney to get these people out. So finally, they just gave up. And they got a rental, moved out. Well, eventually they stopped paying the utilities. Utilities got turned off in the middle of the winter. These people left their house, right? So I contacted them. I'm like, well, it's vacant now. And they're like, it's in a foreclosure here in a week. What's your plan? Well, we were just going to let it foreclose. We had no idea. So I ended up putting about $25,000 in their pocket. I assigned it, made $45,000. All of a sudden, I've door knocked 2 houses, and I've made $95,000. Now, this is not the same result that everyone going to get, but I feel like the Lord wanted to put on my heart immediately. There are so many people that need help out there, and they don't know anything about real estate. They have no resources. They have no people like people in this room that can assist them. So it's not just pre-foreclosures, it's probate, it's eviction, it's a divorce. There's people in pain everywhere. And the people in this room can be the people that help these people out. So I've been putting this message out for a long time because I saw it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, the people that need help. And I want to spread that message to where, not just in Kansas City, but in Phoenix and every city in America, where there's pain, a real estate investor that's moral, that cares about other people, should be there to help. So I just want to spread that message to encourage you that you can go from nothing, sitting on the side of a house crying, wondering if you're going to be able to make your next payment, to making millions of dollars, to making good friends in social media, making a big impact. And it doesn't have to be at the level of 150 deals a year. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. But 1 deal a month, I think we can do that. So I just wanted to inspire you, let you know that maybe sometimes it's unrelatable to see the people doing deals all the time and you think you can't. I've been there. You guys can do it too. All right?